For the next 90 days, I want you to do something most people never actually do in their entire lives. I want you to really decide, on one single goal, not 10, not 5, not even 2. One, just one goal that will stretch you, wake you up, and demand more of you than you're used to giving. No. It should be something that feels just out of reach, something that stirs something in you when you think about it. It should make your heart beat a little faster, not out of fear, but out of possibility, out of excitement. That's the kind of goal I'm talking about. Now, why one goal? Why not a list of dreams or a long-term life plan? Because focus is power. Scattered effort gives scattered results. When you divide your attention, you dilute your energy. But when you lock in on one clear, meaningful target for 90 days, you become unstoppable. Clarity gives birth to momentum. And momentum, once started, can do more in a few weeks than most people do in years. So I ask you, what's the one thing you've been avoiding? What's the thing that keeps whispering to you late at night? The dream that won't leave you alone, no matter how much you try to talk yourself out of it. That's the one. That's the goal you choose. And don't tell me you don't know what it is. You do. Deep down, you do. You've just gotten really good at ignoring it. But that ends now. This isn't about wishful thinking or vague hopes of thinking. It's about setting a specific, actionable, and emotionally charged goal. If you say you want to get better, that means nothing. Better how? You want to be healthier. Then define it. Is it losing 20 pounds? Is it running a mile without stopping? You want to build a business. How am I going to build a business? Then define what that looks like. Is it making your first $1,000 online? Launching a product? Signing your first client? Whatever it is, name it, make it real. If your goal isn't specific, it's just a fantasy. You see, the mind needs a target. Without a target, it drifts. Without a target, it drifts. And when it drifts, it gets lost in excuses, distractions, and self-doubt. But when it knows exactly where it's going, when it has something to aim for, it will begin to move. It will start pulling in resources, ideas, energy, and people that help you reach that destination. But first, you must be bold enough to choose. And yes, it should scare you. It should make you uncomfortable. Because comfort zones are prisons. They're disguised as safety, but really, they're where dreams go to die. The minute you pick a goal that feels bigger than you start to grow into it. You stretch, you change, you become the kind of person who can achieve it. And that's the real transformation, not just the achievement, but the person you become along the way. Most people don't fail because they aim too high and miss. They fail because they aim too low and hit it. They set goals they know they can accomplish and then wonder why they still feel stuck. I don't want that for you. I want you to risk something. I want you to put your pride on the line. I want you to be willing to fall flat on your face because that's where the real lessons are. That's where growth lives. And if you're not failing every now and then, you're not aiming high enough. Now, let me say this. The moment you pick a meaningful goal, resistance will show up. Fear will whisper, you can't do this. Doubt will creep in. Distractions will multiply. That's normal. In fact, it's a sign you're on the right path. Resistance only shows up when you're doing something that matters. Your job is not to eliminate the resistance. It's to move forward anyway. It's to show up every day. No matter what the voice in your head says, you'll be tempted to wait. You'll think, I'll start Monday, or next month is better, or I just need to get everything in order first. That's a lie. There's no perfect time. Waiting for the perfect moment is just a dressed-up form of procrastination. Start now, right now, while it's messy, while it's scary. Scary. While you don't have it all figured out. Action creates clarity. Movement builds confidence. Don't wait to feel ready. Act your way into feeling ready. Some days you're going to feel like quitting. That's inevitable. You'll question why you even started. You'll doubt yourself, your abilities, your path. That's when you remind yourself of your commitment. You made a decision, and your job is to honor that decision, not negotiate with it every morning. You don't ask how you feel. You just do what must be done. That's discipline. That's discipline. That's how you win. And here's something else no one tells you. The goal itself is not the reward. The pursuit is. Who you become over the next 90 days is the real prize. The discipline you build. The focus you sharpen. The habits you reinforce. That's what stays with you long after the 90 days are over. You're not just chasing a result. You're building a foundation for everything else that follows that. I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and ask, if I gave everything I had to one thing for the next 90 days, what could I make happen? And answer honestly. Because the truth is, you're more powerful than you think. But you'll never find out unless you go all in, not halfway. Not when it's convenient. All in. This is your moment, your 90-day window. Make it count. Don't let it slip by like all the others. Pick your goal, lock it in, burn the boats, and don't look back. Everything changes the moment you decide. Once you've chosen your goal, just that one clear, meaningful goal, the next step is to anchor it into your daily life with one simple habit, one action, one behavior that you commit to doing every single day for the next 90 days. Not when it's easy, not when you feel inspired, every day. Without fail, you see, success is not built in bursts of energy or once in a while effort. It's not found in grand gestures or occasional sprints. It lives in the small, consistent things you do daily. That's where the magic happens. That's where transformation begins, not in the dramatic, but in the disciplined. The difference between the people who achieve their goals and those who don't isn't talent, intelligence, or even luck. It's consistency, relentless, daily, intentional action, even when no one's watching. So here's what I want you to do. Once you've identified that one big goal, ask yourself this: what is the single most effective habit I can build that, if repeated daily, will move me closer to that goal? Just one. If your goal is to write a book, then your habit might be to write 500 words a day. If your goal is to get in the best shape of your life, your habit might be to train for 30 minutes or to prep your meals every evening. If your goal is to grow your business, it might be making 5 sales calls daily or creating one piece of content every morning. Whatever it is, make sure it's simple enough that there's no excuse not to do it. You don't need to climb the entire mountain today. You just need to take a step and then another, and then another, and then another. The step doesn't need to be huge. It needs to be repeatable. Something that becomes part of your identity, something you don't have to argue with yourself about every morning. You'll hear people say, I don't have time. But time is not the issue. Commitment is. You have time for what you make time for. You brush your teeth every day. You eat every day. You check your phone every day. So don't tell yourself you can't spare 10, 20, or 30 minutes to do something that moves your life forward. You can. You just have to decide it matters enough. What's powerful about doing something daily, something small but aligned, is that it rewires how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who wants to achieve something, and you begin to embody someone who does it. You become the writer, the athlete, the entrepreneur, the person who follows through. That daily action becomes a quiet vote for the future you. Days when you're discouraged. Days when you wonder if it's even working. That's exactly when your daily habit matters most. That's when you build the muscle of discipline. Anyone can act when it's convenient. What matters is what you do when it's not. That's the difference between a wish and a decision. People want motivation, but motivation is fleeting. Some days you'll have it. Most days you won't. And that's okay, because you're not relying on motivation. You're building a system, a rhythm, something dependable. You don't wait to feel inspired to brush your teeth. You just do it. That's how I want you to treat this habit. It's not optional. It's not up for debate. It's who you are now. And over time, it adds up. The daily words become chapters. The workouts become strength. The sales calls become revenue. Sales. The journal entries become clarity. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, but stack 90 of those days together, and you've got something powerful. You've got momentum, and that's everything. Once momentum kicks in, things start working in your favor. Ideas come faster. Confidence grows. You start to feel that surge, that sense of I'm actually doing this. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. And execution is built through habits. Think about this. If you only acted on the days you felt good, how far would you get? A few days, maybe a week. But when you build something into your day so deeply that it becomes second nature, you no longer depend on mood, energy, or ideal conditions. You depend on your decision. Now, maybe you're sitting there thinking, and what if I miss a day? Don't. But if you do, because you're human, make a pact with yourself that you never miss 2 in a row. 1 missed day is a slip. 2 is the beginning of a new habit, the habit of quitting. Don't let that happen. Protect your streak. Treat your habit like it's sacred, because in a way it is. It's your proof to yourself that you can change, that you can do what you say you'll do. I want you to track it. Mark a calendar, check a box. Do something visual to remind yourself that the chain is growing and you're not going to break it. Let it be a quiet badge of honor, something you don't need to announce, but you know, you're building, and no one can take that away from you. You might not see results in the first week or even the second, but that doesn't mean it's not working. Change is often invisible until it becomes undeniable. That's why so many people quit. They give up before the compounding kicks in. Don't fall into that trap. Your job is not to predict when success will come. Your job is to keep planting the seed every single day, knowing that one morning the ground will break and something incredible will start to grow. I don't care how small your habit is. As long as it's aligned with your goal and you do it daily, it has the power to change everything. It's not about intensity, it's about identity. Every time you complete that habit, you confirm the kind of person you're becoming. You're not just moving toward your goal, you're living in alignment with it. So make the commitment. One action, every day, no matter what. Because when you do that, your life begins to bend in the direction of your decision. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. If you're going to commit to your goal for the next 90 days, and if you're going to take daily action toward it, like we've talked about, there's one more step you absolutely cannot skip. You must eliminate distraction. I don't mean reduce it. I mean eliminate it. Cut it off, remove it, starve it. If you don't, it will consume your energy, your time, your focus, and eventually your confidence. And the worst part, it'll happen slowly, subtly, until one day you look up and realize you're nowhere near where you meant to be. Not because you weren't capable, not because you didn't have a clear goal, not even because you didn't try, but because you kept getting pulled off course. Let me be very honest with you. Distraction is not always loud. It doesn't always look like chaos or noise or drama. In fact, most of the time, it shows up as something that seems innocent, something you've accepted as part of your routine. Maybe it's that constant checking of your phone. Maybe it's always being available to everyone at all times. Maybe it's the endless scroll of other people's lives, other people's opinions, other people's paths. Or maybe it's mental clutter, second guessing every decision, worrying about what people will think, entertaining every doubt that crosses your mind. You cannot afford that. Not now. Not for the next 90 days. You need to protect your focus like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Where your focus goes, your life follows. If you want to create results you've never had before, you're going to have to do things you've never done before. And one of those things is learning how to say no. Say no to unnecessary input. Say no to mindless consumption. Say no to conversations that drain you. Say no to activities that keep you busy, but don't move you forward. Because busy doesn't mean productive. Let me repeat that. Busy does not mean productive. The world is full of busy people going in circles. What you need is clarity and commitment, and neither of those survives in a distracted mind. I want you to identify your biggest distraction. Just one. Just one. That one thing that takes you away from your focus more than anything else. You already know what it is. You don't need to think long. Maybe it's your phone. Maybe it's your inbox. Maybe it's always saying yes to things you don't actually want to do. Whatever it is, be brutally honest about it. That thing is not just a minor inconvenience. It's your enemy for the next 90 days. It's standing between you and your goal. And your goal deserves better than that. You deserve better than that. Now, I'm not telling you to give up everything in your life. I'm not saying become a monk or isolate yourself in a cave. I'm saying create space. Space for progress, space for discipline, space for clarity. And the only way to create space is to subtract. Everyone's always trying to add more. More information, more tools, more routines, more noise. But real growth, deep transformation, usually comes when you remove what no longer serves you. Hey, you don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. Think about that. How many times have you said, I wish I had more hours in the day? But if I gave you 2 more hours and you spent them the same way, you spend them the same way you spend the rest of your time, distracted, fragmented, reactive, nothing would change. It's not the time that matters. It's what you do with the time. And focus is the multiplier. For the next 90 days, I want you to treat your time like gold. That means boundaries. That means intentionality. That means saying no, even when it's uncomfortable. That might mean turning off notifications. That might mean setting strict hours for social media or stepping away entirely. That might mean telling people close to you, hey, for the next 3 months, I'm working on something important and I need to protect my energy. Yes, It might feel awkward at first. Yes, you might disappoint a few people, but I promise you the ones who truly support your growth will understand. And the rest, well, they were distractions too. There's a freedom that comes when you realize you don't have to respond to everything immediately. You don't have to be plugged in 24/7. You don't have to carry the mental load of 100 things at once. You just have to do the work that matters daily, without interruption, without guilt. And the moment you begin to reclaim your time and your attention, you'll feel the shift. You'll start to notice you have more energy, more clarity, more momentum, because your mind isn't being pulled in 20 directions anymore. It's focused, directed, alive. And you'll start to ask better questions. Instead of a what else can I do, you'll ask, what do I need to remove? Instead of a how do I squeeze this in? You'll ask, what do I need to protect in order to make this non negotiable? That's when things really begin to move because you're no longer just reacting, you're creating. The truth is, there are no shortcuts, but there are accelerators. Focus is one of them. Discipline is discipline is another. And you can't have either unless you're willing to confront distraction head on and make the decision to live differently, even just for a season. So for the next 90 days, clear the noise, create space, and protect your focus like your future depends on it. Because it does, you've picked your goal. You've committed to one daily action. You've cleared the distractions. Now comes a part most people ignore, even though it might be the most important thing of all. You need to see your goal every day, every morning, every night. You need to bring it to life in your imagination so clearly, so vividly, that your mind begins to believe it's already yours. That kind of vision changes everything. This isn't about daydreaming or wishful thinking. This is about training your subconscious to work for you instead of against you. Because the truth is, your mind is always working on something, and if you're not feeding it images of success, progress, and purpose, it will default to fear, doubt, and limitation. That's its natural state. You must reprogram it. You must teach it where you're going and then teach it where you're going. The way you do that is through visualization. Every morning, before the world rushes in, I want you to sit still for just a few minutes. Close your eyes, and I want you to see it. Your goal already achieved. Don't see the process. Don't see the obstacles. See the result, the finished product. If your goal is to launch your business, then see the sales come in. See the messages from happy customers. Feel the pride in knowing you built something from nothing. If your goal is to transform your body, see yourself standing in front of the mirror, strong and energized, proud of your reflection and of your reflection. Listeners, feel what that version of you feels. If your goal is to write a book, see yourself typing the final words, holding the first printed copy in your hands, watching it reach people all over the world. That's what I want you to picture. Not someday, but now. And here's why it matters. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. If you feed it a vivid enough picture, it begins to believe it's possible. And when it believes it's possible, it begins to work on your behalf. You'll start to notice ideas flowing faster, opportunities appearing, solutions rising where before there were only problems. That's not magic. That's clarity in action. That's the result of a mind that's been given a destination. Most people walk through life with fog in their minds. They know what they don't want. They can tell you all about their problems, their limitations, what's wrong in their life. But ask them what they do want exactly, precisely, and they hesitate. They're vague, unsure. That's why they stay stuck. You can't hit a target you can't see. So start seeing it every single day. Now, I'm not just talking about imagination. I'm talking about using that image as fuel. You visualize not to escape reality, but to shape it. The clearer that image becomes, the more your decisions, your actions, your habits begin to align with it. You're no longer just hoping things will work out. You're showing up every day with a mission, with a picture in your head of what you're building, and that picture pulls you forward. It becomes your compass. When things get hard, and they will, you won't fold because you'll have already seen what you're working for. You've already lived it in your mind, and that memory of the future becomes your greatest source of strength. And don't just visualize once and forget about it. Repetition is the key. Every morning, every night, before you go to bed, close your eyes and see it again. Let your subconscious work on it while you sleep. Let your dreams carry pieces of that vision. You're embedding it so deeply into your mind that it starts to feel inevitable. It stops being a question of if and becomes a matter of when. This is how high performers think. They don't just react to the world, they create their world twice. First in the mind, then in reality. Every great accomplishment began as an idea, an image in someone's mind that they refused to let go of. And the difference between the ones who succeeded and the ones who gave up was simple. One kept the vision alive, no matter what. People will try to talk you out of your dream. Circumstances will challenge your belief, but if the vision is strong enough, if you've seen it enough times, nothing will shake you. Doubt may knock, but it won't stay long. Fear may show up, but it won't take control because you've seen yourself on the other side. You felt it. You've heard the words and seen the faces, touched the result. That's not something anyone can take from you. Some will say, but what if I imagine it and it never happens? And I say, what if you never imagine it at all? What if you spend the next 90 days doing the work without ever seeing the reward? How will you know what you're aiming for? How will you stay the course when things go dark? You need something bigger than discipline. You need vision. You need to fall in love with the future you're creating. Not once, every day. And the more you do it, the more you'll start to feel like that version of yourself. You'll begin to act like them, speak like them, think like them, think like them, because in your mind, you are them. That shift, that internal alignment is where real change begins. You're no longer chasing something outside of you. You're expressing something inside you. You're becoming who you were meant to be all along. And that's why this practice, this mental rehearsal is non-negotiable. It's not extra. It's not fluff. It's the foundation. See it before you build it. None. See it before you build it. See it before you believe it. See it before anyone else does. Because once you can see it clearly, vividly, repeatedly, it's only a matter of time before the world sees it too. Your future is already written. You just have to look at it every day until it becomes real. Real. Now that you've committed to your goal, you're showing up daily, eliminating distractions, and holding a clear vision in your mind. There's something else you must do to ensure you don't fall back into the old patterns. You must build an inner circle of accountability. And not just any group of people. I'm talking about individuals who support your growth, who believe in your potential, and who are willing to hold you to a higher standard, even when it's uncomfortable. Let me tell you something that might sting a little. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with, not just financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Your habits, your conversations, your expectations for yourself, they're all shaped by the circle you choose to stay in. If you surround yourself with people who make excuses, who settle, who laugh at ambition or call discipline a too extreme, then over time you'll start to soften. You'll start to shrink. You'll start to lower your own bar just to fit in. But the opposite is also true. If you place yourself around people who are growing, who are honest, who don't let you off the hook, something powerful starts to happen. You rise, you stretch, say chin. You lean into discomfort because you know they're watching and you don't want to let them or yourself down. So for the next 90 days, I want you to ask yourself, who am I allowing into my mind, into my energy, into my conversations? Are they helping me stay aligned with where I'm going, or are they quietly pulling me off track? You've already done too much work to let someone else's laziness, doubt, or complacency bleed into your process. This part of the journey requires vigilance. You don't just protect your time and your focus, you protect your environment. Find someone who will check in on you, not to criticize, but to challenge. Someone who knows what you said you'd do and isn't afraid to ask, did you do it? Not in a harsh way, but in a way that reminds you. You made a promise to yourself, and that promise matters. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a coach. Maybe it's a group of people all working on different goals, but who share the same hunger. The point isn't who. The point is someone. The point is some. We are not built to thrive in isolation. And discipline, while powerful, becomes 10 times stronger when it's backed by accountability. And don't just think of accountability as someone who calls you out when you slack off. Think of them as a mirror. They reflect back to you your best self when you can't see it. On the days you're tired, on the days you doubt, they remind you of why you started. They remind you of what you said you wanted. That's not just valuable. That's not just valuable. That's priceless. But here's the key. You must invite that kind of accountability. You must ask for it. Most people don't because they don't want the pressure. They don't want someone holding a mirror to their inconsistency. But pressure is exactly what you need. Controlled pressure creates diamonds. And this 90-day window, this focus season, is your chance to put the right kind of pressure on yourself in the right environment with the right people. That means you might have to step away from people who aren't on the same path. It doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you stop letting their energy interfere with your growth. If someone constantly interrupts your progress with gossip, negativity, or excuses, they don't belong in your inner circle. Not now. Not while you're building. You need people who speak the language of progress, not problems. Solutions, not complaints. Momentum, not comfort. And while we're talking about accountability, don't forget the most important person to be accountable to you. Because long after the check-ins fade, long after the conversations quiet down, you're still left with your own reflection, your own thoughts, your own decisions. And you've got to be able to look at yourself and say, I kept the promise. That's how confidence is built. It's not through inspiration, through integrity, doing what you said you'd do when no one else is watching. So yes, have the circle, have the support, but don't lean on them as a crutch. Lean on them as a standard. Use them to sharpen you. And you sharpen them, because when a group of committed people align, not just with each other, but with a shared standard of excellence, it creates a momentum that is nearly impossible to stop. And that's what you need right now. Not just motivation, not just information. Alignment, support, accountability. I want you to build in a simple system. Weekly check-ins, short messages, voice notes, whatever keeps you connected to your goal and to those who help you stay the course. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Just a rhythm, a touch point, a reminder that you are not alone in this, that others are moving forward too. And if they're still going, you can too. The next 90 days will not be easy. That's the point. You're doing something that most people won't do, most people can't do, because it requires more than effort. It requires ownership. And accountability is how you anchor that ownership in your daily life. It's how you make sure the work you're doing matters. It's how it compounds, that it grows. In English, Mosa. So make the choice today to elevate your circle, to elevate your conversations, to surround yourself with people who see who you are becoming, not just who you've been. Because that future version of you, the one living in the result, the one who followed through, the one who made it, needs you to hold the line, and the people around you will either help you do that or they'll help you break it. Choose wisely, because your progress depends on it. Let me bring you into something that most people overlook. Something so small, so subtle, yet so deeply powerful that it often goes unnoticed in the noise of chasing goals and executing plans. Over the next 90 days, if you really want to transform not just what you have, but who you are, you must celebrate progress daily. Yeah, celebrate. Not in a loud, boastful way, but in a way that grounds you in the truth that you are moving forward. Because if you don't recognize your progress, you'll convince yourself you haven't made any. And that lie is what makes people quit. I want you to imagine this. You're climbing a mountain. It's steep. You're putting in the effort. Each day you're hiking higher, pushing through fatigue, staying committed, but you never look back. Eventually you start to feel like you're just walking in place, that you're not getting anywhere. And that's when doubt creeps in. That's when it starts whispering, is this even working? But here's the thing. You were climbing. You were making progress. You just never gave yourself a moment to realize it. The mind is funny like that. It wants proof. And if you're always waiting for the end result to feel proud, you'll cheat yourself of the very fuel that would have gotten you there. That fuel is momentum. And momentum grows every time you acknowledge that you're further than you were yesterday. You're better, you're sharper, you're more disciplined. That's what needs to be seen. That's what needs to be celebrated. Now, don't confuse celebration with arrival. This isn't about pretending you're done, uttered done. It's about honoring the work. It's about building a feedback loop of belief. Because every time you say, oh, look at what I did today, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who follows through. Someone who doesn't just talk about change, but lives it. And that identity is everything. Most people only celebrate the big wins, the transformation, the promotion, the weight lost, the deal closed. But the truth is, those big moments are made up of 1,000 small choices. The mornings you showed up when you didn't want to, the workouts you finished, the distractions you avoided. The distractions you avoided. The times you said no to comfort and yes to growth, those are the real wins. Those are the ones that matter most because they're the ones you control. And when you take a moment, just a few minutes each day, to reflect and acknowledge those choices, something powerful happens. You start to trust yourself. You start to see yourself as the person who's capable. And that trust, that's what creates consistency, not hype, not inspiration, but the quiet belief that says, I'm doing it, I'm becoming. So, how do you do this practically? Simple. Simple. At the end of each day, ask yourself one question. What did I do today that moved me forward? That's it. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Take a moment to feel the pride. Not ego, but the pride of knowing you honored your word. Maybe it was getting out of bed on time. Maybe it was turning your phone off and doing deep work. Maybe it was holding a boundary you usually cave on. It doesn't have to be flashy, it just has to be real. And here's the beautiful part. When you start stacking those daily wins, you build undeniable proof, not for anyone else, for you. Proof that you're on the path, proof that change is happening. And that proof over time becomes unstoppable momentum, the kind of momentum that can carry you through resistance, through fatigue, through doubt, because you will face days when nothing goes as planned. You'll mess up, you'll fall short, you'll feel off. And if you haven't trained yourself to see progress in the process, you'll only focus on what went wrong. But when celebration becomes a habit, even the hard days have something to honor. Even the small steps count. And let's talk about the emotional side of this. When you celebrate your own progress, you stop depending on other people to validate your journey. You don't need their likes. You don't need their applause. You don't need them to see you. You see you. You see you. And that is a position of strength. That is where confidence is born, not from what the world says about you, but from what you say to yourself, consistently with honesty and clarity. You'll also start to become more present. Instead of living in the future, always chasing the next milestone, you'll learn to appreciate the current moment. That doesn't mean you lose ambition. It means you find joy in the journey. You learn to love the process, not just the outcome. And that kind of joy, that's the secret to staying the course long term, not willpower. Joy. Now, let me be clear. This practice isn't optional. It's essential. If you go 90 days without recognizing your growth, you'll burn out. You'll start to believe your effort doesn't matter. But if you celebrate daily, you build an internal engine that keeps you focused, resilient, and fulfilled. It's not a luxury, it's a discipline. And like all disciplines, it gets stronger the more you practice it. The next 90 days will transform your life, but only if you let them. Only if you show up daily, stay focused, stay accountable, persist through adversity, and yes, celebrate your progress. Not someday, not when it's perfect. Now, because the version of you you're building isn't just successful, it's whole. And that kind of transformation is worth recognizing every single day. You move closer to it.